Okay, here we have the one I just removed from the truck. This is the clean one with the new parts in it. I see I'm going to have to swap these two. Not a big problem there. It's your vacuum line to the distributor. Otherwise, everything seems to match up identical. Okay. I am seeing one little difference here on the base. Haven't got the gasket off here yet. The old original gasket, well, original from the last time I changed it, has a little pinhole in the gasket for a port there, plus these two slots. I have a new gasket like that. But when I look on the rebuilt carburetor, it has some type of a vacuum hole up there. This gasket matches up to the bolt holes well, but it covers up that little vacuum port. Now I guess the question is, do I need that vacuum port? I guess I will have to think about that one. Well, I cannot find a new gasket to match up to that hole. As you can see, this one has been rat tail filed a little bit. The original base, I think, was too narrow for whatever truck it was put on, and somebody filed it out to fit, to make it that size. The more I look at it, the less I understand why they even need that hole there, because when you consider it, that bolts right down onto the intake manifold. I'll have to show you the manifold next. There is no hole in the intake manifold to match up to that. What I did have on there, I just pulled off, was this big thick spacer. So that was on there. You can hardly see in the light here. But that itself would pretty much block out. Should have brought my other light. I don't know. I think my options are to reuse the old gasket, which is still slightly flattened out but intact, or take the new one and punch a little hole in it there, because the gasket I was using, the one that came off, had that hole in there to match up with the base of the carburetor. Oh well. Okay, first test. Prime the carburetor, but the float bowl's empty, so if it does start, it won't run for long. Well, that wasn't long. Well, time for another prime. Well, it's not looking good. I'll show you what it does. It burns up that little bit of priming gas in about 2 seconds. And that's it. We're back to a non-functioning fuel pump. It was working when I parked it here a couple of weeks ago, so I don't know. Well, as much as I rev this thing up on the few seconds that it runs on priming gas, you'd think there'd be something in there when I hit the accelerator pump, but nothing. That float chamber is empty. Fuel pump is not pushing gas. Okay. That's all I know for now. Well, still makes no sense at all. I had that little inline filter off. Don't break my light. That'll just make my day. That filter is not blocked. I can blow through it with no problem. I just tried cranking it over with the line disconnected at the pump, the discharge line, and gas just pours out of there. So I will give you a little demo. Crank it over and watch. Well, I'd say that pump is working just fine. So is there something in the line between the pump and the filter? Okay, the filter is... what is it? I have disconnected the filter, removed it. I have the discharge line from the pump directed into that Coke bottle, so let's crank her over, see what comes out. Okay, it's pumping gas. It's a funny color though. So it almost makes me think that, yeah, I didn't catch any. It makes me think that filter is restricting, and yet I can blow through it. Let's see. Should work. I don't know. Well, finally, success. Not quite as smooth as Mr. John Deere 3720's truck, but I think it's going to smooth out. I think one of the spark plugs gets fouled by the excess gas I've been pouring into it for priming. A little short on light here, but it's idling on its own. The choke is part ways out. Let's see if it'll run with the choke pushed in a bit. Too bad. I think the choke cable needs a little adjusting. Alright, that's a wrap. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, but it's 6 o'clock here, and that's supper time for me.